And it was within days of asking that pivotal question about a year ago that I was introduced to the work of a Dr. Bruce De Palma, who was the founder of an institute in Santa Barbara. But before he founded this institute dedicated to the study of exactly this possibility, he taught physics at MIT and Harvard. And for 20 years, Dr. De Palma has been doing a series of experiments basically in rotation in terms of something he calls the N effect. Now, he didn't realize when he coined this term that N could apply as a mathematical term to an N space, in which case we now substitute 4 for N, because it's 4 space that we're perhaps tapping into. Well, needless to say, when Dr. De Palma and I began to have our conversations, one thing led to another, and we were very rapidly introduced to the details of these technologies, and in fact, on the surface, they appear to work exactly as advertised. If you rotate a magnetized object fast enough, and you hook up a conductor so you connect the axis of rotation and the equator, the periphery, a current will flow even though the whole thing is rotating as a unit, and you're supposed to, in current physics, have to have a relative motion between the conductor and the magnet in order to get a current flow. Strongly indicating, in Dr. De Palma's view and in mine as well, that magnetic fields are a property of the hyperdimensional space-time boundary itself and are not produced by the magnet. The magnets are only the transducers. They're only the gate, if you will, whereby the magnetic signature of the higher level state space is manifest in our 3 dimensions. But something even more stunning that he did, and this has got to be replicated, and I would like to issue a challenge to the International School, which is housed here at the UN, to be one of the first schools to try to do this in their physics lab, because any high school should be able to duplicate this. What Dr. De Palma did is he took 2 steel balls, all right, like these little pinballs that you see in the arcades. One of them is motionless. It's not rotating. The other is spinning at 27,000 revolutions per minute, going like a bat out of, well, going like a bat, okay. And they are ejected in a spring mechanism simultaneously at an angle, about a 45-degree angle, all right? Look what happens. The ball that is spinning rises faster, farther, and falls faster, quicker than the ball that is not spinning. And there is absolutely nothing in Newtonian mechanics that can explain that. Nothing. Now, what's interesting is that when you go back and you look at your classical physics texts at Harvard, MIT, whatever, they are always referring to non-rotating objects. Rotation, if it is dealt with at all, is dealt with as one of these terrible complexities in the lab that you can't really get a handle on, so everything is fixed and simplified and grounded and made as simple as possible. Well, it turns out that if this experiment can be replicated by others, then standard classical non-rotating Newtonian physics isn't real. It is a subset. It is an approximation of a real universe, which we'd better get to exploring very seriously, because contained in this, may I say it here in the hallowed halls of the UN, might just be the secret of the control of gravity. And imagine the economic impact if instead of having to ship things around the world by jet plane or boat or around continents by truck or by rail, I could produce a device where they would hover and float frictionlessly, and the energy costs of doing that from here to Perth, Australia were mere pennies. I mean, this is not airy-fairy stuff. If this can be verified, if the experiments can be performed, if the proper tools of science applied to these potentials, then the vision that the President and others who have met in this building have had so long of a new world order can actually come to pass. And the beneficiaries, the first beneficiaries will be those who are now last, the so-called third world. And I would hope that there would be some interest on the part of some members and delegates and staff here to pursue some of these ideas and questions, because the practical benefits for all the peoples of this world at this crucial, defining moment in history, I don't think can be overestimated. The science, however, must be done. And at the moment, it is not being done. Well, this, of course, raises the other great implication and potential of this data, and that is, if we are seeing a connection between a geometry given to us by the monuments of Mars and a physics that applies not just to our neighborhood and the planet we live on and the sun and all the universe we see, but does it also apply to perhaps something in our own history? Is it possible that there could be actual physical links between what took place on Mars so long ago and what has taken place on Earth? Well, as the human species somehow had a contact with a higher intelligence that knows some of these profound universal truths and has tried ever so gently to inculcate their seeds and their gestation and their flowering in the human psyche, in the human condition, and in human civilization. Over the past 9 years, perhaps the most consistently controversial aspect of this work has been the rising specter of a provable terrestrial connection. Even for those for whom the discovery of alien ruins right next door would present no insurmountable theoretical problem, the possibility that that alien presence somehow intervened even hundreds of thousands of years ago on this planet raises some very interesting problems. It was with some trepidation then that to the international community during our UN briefing, we presented the first provable, hard, numerical and photographic evidence of precisely such an alien intervention, including such diverse locations as Giza, Egypt, and Marcoasi, Peru. It began about 9 years ago by noting the curious resemblance of the face to another important monument on this planet. And as I began looking at some references and books and talking with colleagues, this was a sketch done by Shannon, one of our early artists on the team, we both realized that this image was somehow trying to tell us something profound. It was trying to say this. Now, that is totally unscientific. And I wouldn't even bring it up, except that gut feeling, that haunting thing, turned out to have exquisite, almost excruciating confirmation in the years that have subsequently followed. Because the biggest version of that previous image is, of course, this. This is the Sphinx, the largest statue we know created by the human race here on planet Earth, 240 some feet long and 60 plus 66 maybe feet high. The combination of the man-lion. In Arabic, it's called Abu Hol, I believe, which means father of terror.